So buckle in. Here we go. We're going to start our game. Training. The definition of training. The action of teaching a person a particular skill or teaching them a type of behavior. Let me give you an example. How many of you actually taught your child to sit still in a chair? Think about it. For 6 hours in a school setting next to other kids when they were 4 and 5, right? This is what we do when we think about skills. In my office as a clinician, I have a small desk and a small chair. And one thing that I do with my families as they come in with small children is I teach them how to sit in a chair, and we'll do exercises, and we'll do coloring things, because that is what school looks like in kindergarten, in first grade. But when we think about how many skills and what skills are we teaching, that's going to be important. So let's think about, and it's not a mystery. I always tell people what we need to teach our children is not a mystery. We're going to start with some research on the domains of development. And so you have a blue bag in front of you, or you should have gotten one when you came in. Get out your blue bag, and I want you to look inside and look for your ball. And my front row does not have a blue bag. So someone's going to get you a blue bag. All right, so you have your bouncy ball. What do you notice about your bouncy ball? It's round. What else do we notice? I love this participation. It's going to be like this today. Smiley face. Some of us have smiley faces. Some of you, if you got the right bags, you have little animals. Yes, right? So we've got some things going on here. But not only is this a toy, but this is a tool. So let's talk about it with our 3 domains. How might this bouncy ball help a student physically or a child physically? You're doing it. What is it? Yeah, our fine motor skills, right? How else might this bouncy ball help our children physically? With dexterity, absolutely. One of the biggest challenges we're having in preschool and kindergarten right now is the lack of fine motor skills and the ability to write. Our kids are complaining that their hands write, and I have my classroom teacher saying, yep, that's the problem. Fine motor skills, right? Thinking about manipulatives. How might this little bouncy ball help your child develop cognitively? Cognitively. We're thinking. Hand-eye coordination, the laws of physics. Good catch, right? Yeah. Thinking about gravity, what you could teach from a cognitive perspective. What about social emotional? How does my bouncy ball help with social emotional? Frustration? Yes. What's on it? Smiley face. Listen, we can take a tool to teach emotion. And here's the other best part about that. If I want to play with my ball, I need a partner sometimes. That connection piece, right? Relationships, social, emotional. One thing that you're going to notice with most children's toys from 0 to 7, color, engagement, right? Even the idea, these are kind of those old-fashioned toys that kids don't play with anymore, but they should. The kids love this in my office. But again, it was thinking about the physical, the cognitive, learning colors, right? Learning shapes, absolutely. These are things, and don't get me wrong, I'm going to talk about technology later, but there's a value in our old-fashioned toys, right? Again, looking at development. And so these are things, we have what we call the home environment or the home study in mental health. And what we do is we go into someone's home and we look to say, what are the resources in that home? And research shows us that a home that has toys, not apps, not video games, books, reading materials, experiences, we'll talk about our parenting styles later, but just the things that you place in that environment make such a difference. So we should ace this next one. Ready? You have some bubbles. One more time, let's go in that bag. How are bubbles going to help us physically? Breathing, deep breathing. Why is deep breathing awesome? Relaxation, self-regulation. If we're upset and someone says, go take 10 breaths, that is so boring, right? Yes, take a deep breath, go stand in the corner, count to 10. Nobody wants to do that. If I say to my 4-year-old, hey, why don't we go blow some bubbles so you can relax and calm down? Now I've engaged them in teaching them skills in a way that they can engage. So I always tease because when students and children leave my office, we give a prize. Our prizes are bouncy balls. Our prizes are stuffies. Our prizes are fidget toys. Our prizes are bubbles. Things that help kids take toys and now use them as tools. So the domains of development is very important. We're going to look at that at each stage of development. But there's two other components we want to talk about. And one's going to be your child's temperament. Temperament is how we view the world and situations. And so looking at how you view through your lens, right? We typically, in mental health, we talk about 3, easy, difficult, and slow. Let me give you an example. If I said I was going to, we're going to go to the water park. My easy child is, yes, let's go. They went and ran to go find their swimsuit, their swimming trunks. They're in the car with us, no problem. My slow to warm up, thinking about it. Maybe by the time we get there, it's a better idea for them. They're in a good place. They're like, yes, we're going to make it there. My difficult. Now, it's not about behavior and being bad. It's their temperament, right? And I really want to focus on that for a second, because having a difficult temperament is just how they view things. And so my difficult kid may come with 100 reasons why today is not the day we can go to the water park, right? And in that moment, it feels like defiance, and it feels difficult. When we think about temperament, I want to kind of give you an example. I'll show you a picture of some little ones. There we go. and my little one is not so little anymore, right? So what you don't see in this picture is there's actually 4 babies here with Granny, and Granny's holding all 4 of her grandbabies. And temperament is just how you view the moment. Now when my daughter and I, we have this conversation about this picture, my daughter will say, Mom, I just didn't want to take the picture, and everybody was there, and it makes sense. And it's not that Paige is a difficult child at all. She's probably a slow to warm up, and in most days, an easy kid, really. That's her temperament. My son, any guesses? He's pretty an easy kid, right? Even when there's chaos going on around, he's like, well, I'm just here for the ride. And so how that helps is it teaches us as parents how to engage. Do I engage with both of them the same? No, because I understand their temperament. I understand how they view moments. And so even when it's something as simple as clean your room, she needs a 2-day notice, a timeline and a deadline to get her mind wrapped around it. He could have a 10-second notice, okay, Mom, and he goes up. Neither is wrong, neither is bad. It's just their temperaments. And what I've learned to do as a parent is adjust how I engage based on how they're designed. Very important part of parenting. Let's talk now about those skills. And our skills that we need by 7. Josh, you with me? We'll get there, no worries. Our skills that we need by 7. There was a book that was written that was all I really need to know I learned in kindergarten. And there's some truth to that everything that we need to know. I want you to take out that ball again. Get out your bouncy ball. Now with your bouncy ball, I want you to give it to somebody. Oh. Look at us adult learners How did you feel? Oh, well, we've got 2 balls. All right. We've got generous givers over here. But think about it. Did anybody hesitate for a second? Like, it's my ball. I'm not ready to share my ball. Am I going to get it back? You can give your balls back to the other person now. Because we might be attached to our colors and our smiley face. Sharing is a skill. And here's what's interesting, parents. We don't teach sharing. You know what we teach? The aftermath of sharing. We wait till they're fighting over the thing. You need to share, right? After they've already had the meltdown, after they're already wrestling with each other, wrestling with the device or the item instead of sharing, right? But how about if we're intentional about teaching sharing? Interesting. These are skills when we talk about kindergarten. A lot of teachers will say that students have the hardest times at things like centers. Centers require not only sharing of, like, let's say Legos or building blocks or some magnet tiles, but sharing also requires cooperation. Being able to cooperate with a group of people when you're in a center. Many of our preschool kindergarten office referrals are because somebody sucker punched someone over Legos because we don't know how to share. We don't know how to cooperate. Simple things. I'm going to have everybody stand up for a second. I told you we're going to be interactive today. I live no other way, right? So we're going to practice something that everybody should be familiar with. Anybody play Simon Says? Oh, wait a minute, I got some real Simon Says people in here. We're like, okay, hold on. All right, Simon Says. I'm going to be Simon. You know what? I'll do doctors. No, we'll do Simon. All right. Simon Says, touch your head. Simon Says, touch your shoulders. Simon Says, touch your waist. Touch your head. Oh, look at us adults. Oh, all right. Well, I won't make you sit out. Right? I won't make you sit down. All right, ready. Simon Says, touch your nose. Simon Says, touch your head. Simon Says, touch your knees. Touch your head. Oh, we did okay this time. All right. What are we practicing? Listening. Following directions. Listen, these are the games we got to get back to with our kids. It prepared them for listening, following directions. All right, one more while I have you standing up. Head, shoulders, knees, and toes. You ready? All right, ready? Head, shoulders, knees, and toes. Don't make me sing by myself. Knees and toes. Ready? Head, shoulders, knees, and toes. Knees and toes. Head, shoulders, knees, and toes. Knees and toes. Knees, toes, shoulders, head, shoulders, knees. All right, one more time. We're going to do it that way. Ready? All right, we're going to listen and follow directions. You ready with me? All right, let's go. Knees, toes, shoulders, head. Knees, toes, shoulders, head. Head, shoulders, knees, and toes. All right, give yourselves a hand, sit down. So that second exercise, I love it. Listen, if we're struggling. So that second exercise was actually in research. Researchers took a group of students, and they trained a group on head, shoulders, knees, and toes. Then they worked with another group of students, and they switched up the order like we did the second time. What they found is students that were better with the second version, were able to follow those instructions, were actually better with focus in their classroom. These are things that our kids need. Head, shoulders, knees, and toes. Even being able to follow that song takes listening, following directions, paying attention. Things that we need in classrooms. Let's talk a little bit about manners. Listen, because we know people don't have manners these days, right? Listen, that's why you guys were like, manners. Ooh, yes, right? And again, intentional teaching of manners. And most of us teach our kids please and thank you. We were probably about maybe 10 years ago, I was on a visit with my mother-in-law, and Granny, as we affectionately call her. And I was talking to my daughter or my son, and I was saying something, and I was saying please and thank you. And my mother-in-law turned, and she said to my husband, You guys are very polite to each other. Now, this is nothing about the culture. They're originally from Guyana, South America. But what was interesting is, without even thinking or blinking, I turned to her and I said, that's because I want them to have manners when they grow up. Thinking about intentional, how we model behavior. But these are those things that, again, kindergarten, preschool, first grade teachers are saying, please, I need your kids to be able to do these things when they walk through my door. Regulating emotions. I'm going to look at my daughter kindly as I say this story. Don't get me lost. They have been in the car when I have been lost. And if I am lost and the GPS is spinning, this is not Dr. Stacy. It's just Stacy in the car at this point. And Stacy needs the radio turned down and nobody talking because we have to figure this out. But those are probably the few moments where my kids have been able to say, yeah, we saw mom off today. Because one thing I want to model is my ability to regulate emotions. I tease parents, your kids can be out of whack and dysregulated. Doesn't mean that you have to be. I can enjoy my coffee as they stomp around the house. Doesn't mean I have to be dysregulated. So teaching emotions, and even our little bouncy ball, but we want to be intentional. If you've ever seen the movie Inside Out, they're coming out with the 2. I'm pretty excited. Yes, number 2. What I love about what Disney did is they actually took this concept of your emotions and your feelings and how it's in your brain, and they made it to life, right? And so anger's like this really mean dude, and joy's like this really happy sunflower, happy girl, which I love. But even sadness in the movie has a purpose. And it teaches kids that all your emotions you're supposed to feel. So we as parents don't say things like, stop crying. Don't be scared. No, they're supposed to have all of those emotions. And they're supposed to be there for a reason. And so being able to teach our children about those emotions and how to manage them, is when we say the word regulate, is what we want to do instead of telling them, don't have them, you can't have them. When was the last time you played a board game? It's been a while, I know. We have in our island at home, we have board games. And we have, in the island, we have dominoes. And every now and then, we'll be sitting there, waiting on my board game. Got it, Josh? We have board games there, and what we'll do is we will play just a random game of dominoes. But many of our board games also help with focus. Things like Battleship. We just did Simon Says, Head and Shoulders, Knees and Toes. Chess. When was the last time you played checkers? Focus, attention, right? Sunday, good, listen. Because again, these are games that our children need. And you might say, well, they can focus on that device. I'll tell you, there's difference between 2D learning and 3D learning. And the problem we're having in education is that our kids are so used to the 2D that they can't do the 3D when they're asked of it, right? So we've got to make sure that we're intentional about putting learning things, again, in that home environment to help develop these skills. And when I think about the skills, I saw a study, and it said 3 to 5-year-olds, 57% of them can access an app like that. You hear the horror stories on the news, right, where the kids ordered like 3,000 popsicles from Amazon. And I'm like, oh, blessings, you know. But that same study said, now mind you, 57% can access an app. But 14% of 3 to 5-year-olds cannot tie their shoes. What does the classroom teacher need? Them to be able to access an app or tie their shoe? and as the 3rd grade teacher sent the letter home to us, 3rd grade, reminding parents, please make sure your 3rd graders can tie their shoes. Folks, we got to get back to training the basics for our kids to be successful. Now, I'm not saying educators don't get tired, but if you have 20 babies that you're tying shoes all day long, that's taking away time for educating, as my educators shake their heads. So as we close out this section, I have a question for you. How much time have you spent training these skills from 0 to 7, right? And we're going to talk about continuing to support the skills. But from 0 to 7, looking at our time, how much time have you punished your children because they lack skills?